Good morning, afternoon and evening, my crazies. My name's Angela. I'm the Crazy Puppy Lady and welcome back to another Throwback Friday. This one is number 56. And on to today's episode, we have got a Whips, Bits and Chat, books, and we have got some questions as well. So let's go and have a nose now at what I'm talking about. Our very first video up to date is Whips, Bits and Chat number 56. Now this is from May. Now I'm saying this now because the backgrounds are going to look quite similar between the two, and of course I haven't changed my hair in years. So the only way you can tell really between the two is because of the background. Today we'll have, of course, the tiger. Timothy the tiger here, so that's how you know this is the new bit. The old bits will have the date up here, okay, or at least the month, and it will say video whatever date. Okay, so that's how you know that's the old bit and this is the new bit. Right, so let's go and have a look. Right, so now on to completed whips. Well, as you know, I have been horrendously busy, so I haven't got anything finished, but what I have done is I managed to start putting my Vincent the Dragon together. Now I will put a link to the pattern down in the description box, as it is a written pattern. There isn't a video tutorial to go along with it that I have found as yet. Now all I've done so far is I put his body and his neck together, and then I have just not even tacked it, but just decided to put the belly on to make sure it's looking all right. Now I have got his head ready to go, and I have got 2.5 arms done, but at the moment, or last night I should say, I was sitting there making the tube for his wings, because you can make a tube and you can put wire in or stuff in. Now I had nearly finished the tube just using stuff in, but I didn't like it, so I'm going to attempt to use wire this time, because the dragon's going to a 16-year-old, so she should know better than to chew on a lump of wire. So hopefully next week I will have him fully finished for you. Right, and the other thing I have been doing is just making up poppy leaves. Okay, because it's easier if I do a whole batch of leaves, and then when it comes to putting the poppies together fully, it means I've just got to grab them out the bag to sew them on, rather than sit there and have to make them each individually. My daughter has banned me from her bedroom, so I'm not allowed to go up there and retrieve Vincent to show you. So you're just going to have to keep an eye out on these Throwback Fridays to see him complete. And I'll tell you what, he's massive, he's gorgeous, she absolutely loved him. Right, so now on to what else I've been up to this week. Well, as you guys all know, in the UK last weekend it was a bank holiday weekend. So on a Thursday evening, my daughter sent us a message saying, is there any chance I could move back home? She had sort of said that she wasn't going to, and she was happily staying with some friends, but then she has sort of gone, nah, I'm coming home so my mum can do me washing. Cheeky, isn't she? So she sends us this message on the Thursday, any chance? And we turned around and said, yep, not a problem, and give us a little bit of time to sort out the purple bedroom, because of course that was her bedroom originally and it is again now. And so she was like, yeah, not a problem, I'm fine where I am for now. So Friday morning we get up, or should I say I get up, hubby goes to work, the youngest goes to school, and I start clearing, as you saw with the video. early on in the week. So I start clearing and I bring half of the yarn downstairs. Basically what you saw me move, I brought downstairs and I put under the dining table. Now I had to move the dining room table from where it is now up to the window. Okay, turn it round and then shove all the yarn underneath it because we needed room to be able to build these shelves. So my husband decided he was having an early finish and I popped up to a home base to pick up the yarn. Not the yarn, sorry, to pick up the shelving. Now he picked up one set of shelving and went, that should be plenty. He didn't know how bad I was. So yeah, so he came home and we built these shelves and then we put them there. Then we moved the table back and I started unloading the yarn. As I was unloading the yarn, he brought down the computer from upstairs, which is a bit of a shame because it meant that you didn't get to see all the rest of the yarn and where else I'd hidden it. Basically it was in the rest of the wardrobe, but there was still quite a bit that you didn't see sneak out. But he brought that down and he was wiring up as I was stocking up the shelves and then going back upstairs to get the rest and bring that down. So that was a Friday. The video I'm talking about in this section I actually showed you on last week's Throwback Friday, so I didn't see the point in putting it back into this week's Throwback Friday. In regards to the shelving, I can get 54 balls of DK 100 grams onto each shelf. So, in each cube I should say. So they are multi-layered behind what you can see on screen. I made it all look nice and relatively neat back then at the front so you could see it, but at the back there was packs upon packs of stacked yarn. 4s, 5s, whatever I had. Saturday again was a more moving of yarn and making sure that that room was clear, empty and aired out nicely for her, as well as having to take down our old bed because we had a bed in our room that has a TV that came out the end. Posh, I know, but it wasn't. It barely got used. And I can't sleep on that because of my back and neck issues. I have to sleep on my stomach with my feet hanging off the end of the bed. Otherwise I get cramp all in my leg if I have to sort of lay on my tummy with my foot along the mattress. So about 6 months ago we'd brought a new bed base and it's been sitting in the garage waiting for my husband and me to make it or find the time to make it, and it's just been one of them ones where we'll get to it. So I've been having really lovely sleeps in the purple bedroom because of course we both snore. And so sharing a bed, sort of in the morning sometimes you wake up with a bit of a headache where the other one's been snoring in your ear, and vice versa. See, I admit it, I do snore. And so of course Saturday afternoon we are putting up this bed, like the bed frame. We did that pretty quick. We were pretty chuffed with ourselves because normally one of us will go, oh, I can't deal with this, and we'll leave the room and go and do something else and leave the other one to do it, depending on what the item is. Normally with beds he gets left with it and I get left with shelving, but we worked really well and we had the bed basically put up within an hour. We were super chuffed. So that was the bedroom then sorted. Everything had to go back in, of course, a bed had to be made and all that other stuff. So then I got to come back down. Sorry, I got to come back down and carry on organising this room. And then of course while all this was going on, my eldest daughter's pinging us with messages sort of saying, right, I'm nearly packed, ready to go, do you know what day yet? And we're like, well, give us a bit more time and we'll be able to tell you. So as my husband turns around and says, yep, not a problem, I'll come and pick you up on Monday morning and make sure everything's packed. So Monday morning I've still got the bed frame in the lounge. It's propped up and we're trying to offload it. So we've gone onto Facebook Marketplace basically saying free if you can pick it up as soon as possible. So we finally had someone come and pick that up at about 6:30 on Sunday. not Sunday, sorry, 6:30 Monday. By this point, my daughter's stuff is coming in the house as he is taking the bed frame out. She's bringing her stuff in. Then it's a case of getting it all upstairs and me nicking all the storage boxes that she'd use for the move. So every half hour I'm going, got an empty box yet? Have you got an empty box yet? Just so that when I look down under my table, I can then see all of the projects that I have completed that I haven't got rid of yet. Sorry, that I haven't sold. They're all in boxes in order under the here. There's 3 totes worth. Oh, and there's another box that needs a tote as well, but I'll get to that when I get to that. And that's all the items that I've made and shown you are still under the table, unless I said I've actually given it to somebody. I'm really not good at marketing to sell, not at all. Yeah, so it was super busy weekend, and I have not had to move so much in ages, and I'm quite impressed actually that nothing gave up, and I'm still working. Well, apart from the brain. That never worked though, did it? Now time for our next video. Now this one is a book review. It is 50 Crochet Flowers by Claire Crompton, and also the Fairy Tale Crochet Collection by Rico Design. Now I'm only going to show you really the front covers of these ones. The link will be up here that will take you directly through to the original video. That way it cuts down this video's time a little bit, doesn't it? And today I thought I would pop in and show you the very last 2 books that I picked up from my charity book haul a couple of weeks ago. Right, so today I am going to be showing you the 50 Crochet Flowers by Claire Crompton and the Fairy Tale Crochet Collection by Rico Designs. So let's get on with this very first one here. So I've done a little search online and I cannot actually find this publication. Now when I read the back cover, in this really small writing here, it actually says, "We hope you enjoyed making our crochet flower projects. These projects are taken from the 200 Crochet Flowers book." Okay, now I will put a link to the 2000 Flowers book in the description box and down below. There is also going to be a link in the description box and down below for Claire Crompton's Ravelry page, which will show you lots of different projects that she has got available and the books in which they come from. Now next up we have the Fairy Tale Crochet Collection by Rico Design. Okay, it's a step-by-step guides, yarn inspiration and a little more. Alright, so let's dig into this one. Oh, isn't that a cute hat? Right, here is what is available in the book. So we have the pattern for that really cute hat, some little shoes, a jumper, a blanket, a dragon, some more little shoes, another blanket which is a granny square blanket. Then we have some unicorns and some teething toys. Both of those books have some really cute little patterns in. I am halfway through making the dragon in the second book, but I'm using scrap yarns from blankets and things that I've previously made and I've run out. So I've got to do another project first before I can add some more limbs to him. Now time for our last video. This one is 10 really easy questions. If I need to change any of my answers, I'll stick them in as we're going along. A set of questions actually was started by Just Another Stitch, a gorgeous little Connie who I haven't actually come across before, so I'm going to be going to have a nose at her channel once I've finished here. So let's get on with the questions. Question number 1 is, how long have I been crocheting or knitting? Now let's start with the knitting aspect. Yes, I have knitted in the past. When I was probably about 10 or 11, I made a teddy bear, and then when I was pregnant with my eldest daughter I made her a blanket, but I can only cast on, do the purl stitch and cast off again. So the blanket consisted of black and white squares that I made as stripes, and then I sewed them together, sewed the panels together, and then added some little patches that I'd made using cross stitch. And no, I don't have it anymore. I don't know if she's still got it, if she's binned it or what, but it's disappeared, which is a shame because I loved it. And so how long have I been crocheting for? Oh crikey, I can't remember now. What are we on, three maybe 4 years? No, it can't be that long surely. I need to check. Right, so let's get on with question number 1. That is, how long have I been crocheting or knitting? Right, okay, so crochet wise, I started crocheting in October 2018, so not a great deal of time, but the amount of projects different projects that I've fired out over the last 3 years has been massive, and quite a lot of those were done via YouTube channel, tutorials, and of course I followed a couple of patterns as well. Question number 2 is, how did you learn to crochet and or knit? Right, all these questions are going to be based off of crochet. So, how did I learn to crochet? A good friend of mine attempted to teach me how to make a basic granny square. With my short-term memory issues, after every 3 stitches I would have to turn to her and say, what am I doing next? What am I doing next? And I could see it was starting to wind her up a bit. And so I put the crochet down, picked up my drink, and we got sloshed instead. So then when I came home, I thought, you know what, I'm not letting a craft beat me. And so I popped down to my local charity shop to see if they had any hooks, because I thought, well, I'm not going to cough up for a decent set of hooks. I will just pay pennies where I can. So I grabbed a 3.5 crochet hook, and then I popped into the local pound shop and picked up 3 balls of yarn for £2. So I thought, right, that's it, £2.50 spent. If I waste £2.50 because I don't like the craft and I just can't get on with it, I won't. I won't be too upset. So, and that's how it started. I then jumped onto YouTube and found a channel that I could listen to the lady's voice explaining things, and that was it. It just took off from that point on. And that leads beautifully into what made me want to learn to crochet or knit. As I said, my friend showed me some of her work, tried to teach me. She showed me some of her work, and they were mandala blankets. Absolutely gorgeous. And then I've got another friend who likes to make toys, and she doesn't just do the cutesy wootsy stuff, she does film horror people, and they are absolutely amazing. I haven't tackled one yet though. And so it was a bit of a, oh, I love those, oh, don't they look beautiful, and I would love to make it type scenario. And so that's why I wanted to learn. And then on top of that, I don't like letting crafts beat me. If there's something I like the look of, I will try and do it. And I keep going and going, and I'm very stubborn when it comes to that. Right, question number 4 is, what is the first thing that you crocheted? Okay, so the very first thing that I crocheted, I decided I wasn't going to attempt the granny square. I just couldn't get my head around it when I was drinking with my mate. So I decided I'd go down the amigurumi route, because I realised that with amigurumi you only had to learn how to start off, how to end, and it's one stitch going round and round and round, and the only other techniques are increasing and decreasing in the round. And so I was like, right, that is it. I found my pattern, it's coming up for Halloween. I'm going to make some little pumpkins, so a little pumpkin stack. Now these are all made with the same yarn, with the same hook, and probably about the same amount of stuffing, maybe a little bit more, but it just shows how your tension can affect the size of your work. So that's why I keep it around. Oh, and it's because it's my first. I will put a pattern, a link to the pattern in the drop down box for you in case you like the look of these. Now remember, these are the faces that I created. I think it was just the top one that they gave you instructions on how to do. Question number 5 is, what was the last thing that you crocheted or knitted? Now, as you all know, I've got things flying off the hook and are all in different stages, so I had to really sit and think about this one. What was the last thing that I finished? And that is the moose blanket. So the moose loose about this house. Oh, an answer I can finally change. Okay, so the latest one that's come off of the hook, that is finished, apart from a border, if I get around to it, is of course Timothy the Tiger. Now this pattern is available over on the Ravelry shop. It is a Ravelry shop only pattern because it's so massive. And it is bigger than Moose. And this one is actually done in the corner to corner mini stitch. So imagine if I'd have done it in the standard corner to corner, it would have taken over the shelving and a bit more and probably hung over the double bed quite nicely. And here it is. Oh, it's massive. Can I get it all in shot? No, not quite. There we go, there we go, there we go. Now this is a pattern hashtag number 15. So if you really like the look of this one and you want to make one for yourself, it is hashtag number 15. I will pop a link up here and a link in the description box down below. So of course there is a tutorial on the channel for Moose Loose about this house. Okay, now that is just for the moose that you saw on screen a few moments ago. If you would like it with the border as well, so the border is incorporated, that comes in with the written pattern that is over on the Ravelry shop. Okay, so there he is with his cheeky tartan border. I love him, he's massive, and as you can see, I cheat, he's on a stick. Last technique was the alpine stitch, not only working in the round but working as a square as well. There are two slightly different techniques for both. So that is the last stitch that, or the last technique I should say, that I learnt to crochet. What am I currently working on? Well, as you know, at the moment I'm doing poppy leaves because they're smaller and it meant that I could do them short and sharp amounts in between moving and everything else. And I'm also making an amigurumi, a dragon for my daughter. I will put a link to the pattern in the description box below because it is a written pattern and it's called Vincent the Dragon and he is going to be massive. I have made the Vincent the Dragon pattern before. It's in my opening titles with the smoke that comes out of its mouth. But that one was made in a DK. I'm making this one in an Aran. So it's going to be really interesting to see the size difference on them and the fact that I'm going to be able to stick him on my shoulder and actually show you guys all what he looks like in a couple of weeks when he's finished. Keep everything crossed. At the moment I am playing around with mosaic crochet, so there is no videos on the channel because I don't know enough about it yet to do it, but I'm having fun creating patterns from our gorgeous Courtney at Fiberfox Studio. Her link will be in the description box down below. And question number 8 is, what is something that you want to learn to crochet? I actually want to do one of those mandala blankets. I do have a pattern here that I quite like the look of. I haven't actually had a chance to read through it yet, so I don't quite know how hair-pullingly annoying it's going to be, but imagine all those different stitch combinations that I will be able to learn whilst making it. To me that is a big challenge, and it's going to be a fun challenge if I can get my head around it. Okay, so the pattern that I had here was one that was free from a magazine which I spoke about the other week. And no, it wasn't one that I wanted to do, but over Christmas this year I did actually have a go at a mandala blanket, but what I did was I stopped when I got to a certain size. So I didn't make it square, I just did the round section, and here it is here. Now I will find the link for this one and put it back in the description box down below. Okay, but I made myself a cushion by making 2 of them and then joining them together. Simples. So that was my Christmas cushion for my butt. Okay, so yes, I have had a go at doing them, and yes, it was fun. It was a bit confusing to start with when I did the very first one, because of course the memory issues and everything else. But then I left it for about 2 to 3 weeks, came back to it, and it just clicked. And I was like, I sped through the second one in under 2 evenings. So it was super, super fast once I got my brain to work. So to do an actual blanket will be a challenge that I will pick up and run with later on in the year. It just won't be my own pattern, it will be someone else's. Question number 9. What has been your worst frogging experience? Oof. I've been quite good so far. Normally if I frog, I'm only frogging back a row, maybe 2 at a push. I think the worst ones for me is when I have to frog while I'm making a corner to corner tutorial. I think it was the Christmas cow. I ended up having to frog back, I think it was 10 to 15 rows 2 to 3 times, because there was one square that was wrong in the written pattern, and it took me that many attempts to realise it was the pattern and not actually me. So and that was rather annoying. And another one that really did annoy me was when I was over in Australia before I started the channel up. I was making a shawl, and it was a fibre spider virus shawl, and I was using the Lime Brown Landscapes. First time I'd ever used it, I bought it because I liked the colours. Didn't know what roving yarn was back then, and certainly didn't realise that the hook size I was using was too small for the yarn. So I made up quite a bit of this virus shawl. I realised I'd missed or mucked up a block of the stitching, so I had to frog it back. And of course I've just frogged as if I was using DK, which is rip it out and not really think much about it. Well, of course with this one it snagged and it caught, and I spent ages with a darning needle sitting there wiggling it to loosen the knots and then slowly pulling it back, and I think it was about 3 rows and I was near the end, so it was 3 long rows. So that one did annoy me, but then it made me realise that the yarn hook was too small, so when I went to make the project again I upped the hook so I didn't have the same issues second time round, because as we all know I end up frogging most of my projects at some point during them. Oh, I can change this answer now as well. What was my worst frogging experience? It was this guy. I started off by doing him in the normal standard corner to corner. I got to row 59 and he was already longer and wider than the moose. So I stripped back all of the rows and started again using the C2C Mini, thankfully. Otherwise, as I've said earlier on in the video, he would have been massive. Right, so question number 10. This is the most beautiful question out of the lot of them. What project that you have crocheted and or knitted have you been the most proud of? Okay, so for me, I think every time I hand a project over to a family member and it goes down well and they love it and that it's proper, they love it, not just, oh, this is nice. They're the projects I love the most. And so I have a shawl that my mother-in-law has, and the reaction that I got from her was absolutely beautiful and absolutely amazing. The virus shawl that I ended up making, that got some beautiful feedback, and to me it's not always the project itself, it's the feedback that you get. So because of that, my main one is of course the poppies. When I hand the poppies out, or should I say hand them over to the Royal British Legion, and then when I see them on the table and people are oohing and ahhing over them, and I'm the one standing at the table selling them, and they're like, these are amazing, I would love to meet the person who made it, and I'm like, ta-da, here I am. And then I get to explain to them all about the Poppy Challenge and how it came about and all the rest of it, and I love the interaction. So those are really the projects that I'm proud of the most. And now an extra bolt on to that last question is, when you guys send me in photographs of the projects that you've made using the tutorials that are on the channel or the patterns that are over on the Ravelry shop, I love seeing them, and when I see them I know that spending hours and hours and hours in front of this computer and in front of the editing software is worth it, because somebody else wants to make the pattern and does indeed make the pattern. Right, that is it for me for today, or I'm going to carry on chatting and chatting and chatting and chatting. Right, so I'm going to head off now. I will see you all really soon. If you can, please stay in and definitely stay safe. Ta-ra for now, everybody.